It is notable to me. So Donald Trump's lawyer is in court today arguing that the president can't be prosecuted because he has absolute immunity while he's president. That argument is going to be rejected. I can just tell you, listening to the judges this morning, it's going to be rejected. But overnight, a huge story broke in the Georgia case. And what's so notable about it is the Wall Street Journal covered it, but hardly any other major media outlet has covered it. I've had the TV on, flipping back and forth, different news networks. Other than Fox, it's not getting covered. And it is a huge, huge deal that could actually end the case against Donald Trump and his defendants in the state of Georgia. Ashley Merchant is a well-respected Georgia attorney. One of the problems that Donald Trump has had is that Donald Trump just can't get good lawyers. He has to essentially get DUI lawyers to handle his criminal case and the like, just not good lawyers and experienced lawyers, because no good, competent criminal defense attorney wants to represent a guy who can't shut up. I mean, some of the most prominent attorneys in the country who went to bat for Donald Trump have left his case because he has no self-control. He gets on True Social and he says stuff like, for example, in the Jack Smith case in Washington, D.C., Donald Trump's lawyer has submitted a report about the fraud from 2020 and how the election was stolen to show that Donald Trump really believed this stuff. There's a problem. One of the people in the report who Donald Trump paid to disprove the election and to show that the election was stolen actually changed his mind upon review of the evidence and notes on the record in the Washington Post that a number of the claims Donald Trump is making in court in Washington, D.C. were thoroughly debunked, including disproven by Donald Trump's own expert. Whether you think the election was stolen or not, this is the relevant point to focus on here, is that the claims Trump is raising in court about the 2020 election are ones that were thoroughly debunked. You can say there are other ones, but the ones he's specifically raising are ones that even his own expert says aren't true. That's a problem. Donald Trump does not have the best legal counsel around him anymore, in large part because he can't shut up and he doesn't pay his bills. Ashley Merchant doesn't represent Donald Trump. Ashley Merchant is a distinguished lawyer in Georgia, great rating, highly thought of by her colleagues, and she represents Michael Roman. Michael Roman was an opposition researcher in 2020. Well, Fani Willis, the prosecutor in Georgia, probably should not have indicted the opposition researcher because they got the opposition research on her. Among the salacious allegations is that the special counsel, his name is Nathan Wade, he met with the White House counsel in Washington about the case. That's right. He actually has a reimbursement. Yep. He has a reimbursement. Donald Trump, the prosecutor, the special prosecutor, Nathan Wade, filed a reimbursement for a couple $1,000s for a meeting with the White House counsel to discuss the case. It looks more and more like Joe Biden's team did coordinate this prosecution in Georgia. Why else is he seeking reimbursement for a meeting with the White House counsel about this case? Looks like some level of coordination. That's a pretty big one, and it's not being covered by the national media today. Also, Ashley Merchant notes that Nathan Wade has no RICO experience. Now, RICO is Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organizations Act, and it is an area of law that is very complex. I have actually practiced in this area. I've done a civil RICO case, and it really was the most complicated case. Now, I was the young lawyer. I had very experienced lawyers with me, and it was civil, not criminal, so the standard was less. The standard of proof was less, but it's very complex. Criminal RICO cases are very, very complex creatures. And Nathan Wade, the special prosecutor, has no RICO experience. This is Ashley Merchant. She's the undersigned counsel. She's talking about herself here. She says, undersigned counsel knows the special prosecutor and has researched his litigation experience. The research reveals that the special prosecutor has never tried a felony RICO case. The state of Georgia and the city of Atlanta had several lawyers who specialize in the prosecuting and defending RICO cases. Despite having access to these resources, why would the district attorney instead appoint someone who has never tried a felony RICO case, particularly in a case with such national significance as this one. Why? Why would Fani Willis, the prosecutor, hire a guy to prosecute a complex multi-party RICO case who has no experience prosecuting or defending any RICO cases at all? Let me read you from the motion. The district attorney, this is from a legal filing by a well-respected attorney. This is not a fly-by-night DUI lawyer. This is a competent professional appellate lawyer writing this, quote, "The district attorney chose to appoint her romantic partner, who at all times relevant to this prosecution has been a married man. Admittedly, this is a bold allegation considering it is directed to one of the most powerful people in the state of Georgia, the Fulton County District Attorney. Nevertheless, the district attorney's fame and power do not change the fact that she decided to appoint as the special prosecutor a person with whom she had a personal relationship and who is now leading the day-to-day prosecution of the case. Even assuming this type of nepotism might be forgiven in the abstract, a review of the amount of money that the special prosecutor has been paid by the district attorney and the personal activities of the district attorney and the special prosecutor during the pendency of this prosecution shed light on just how self-serving this arrangement has been. In fact, Ashley Merchant goes so far as to argue Willis and Wade, quote, have been engaged in an improper, clandestine personal relationship during the pendency of this case, which has resulted in the special prosecutor and, in turn, the district attorney profiting significantly from this prosecution at the expense of the taxpayers. In other words, Fani Willis been paying her boyfriend a whole lot of money, who in turn was using that money to take her on a whole lot of vacations, cruises, Napa Valley, other sorts of places. Okay, I can understand you're at a meeting in Washington or New York, but you're taking your girlfriend, who's the district attorney, to Napa Valley or on cruises. In fact, by the way, if you read my Substack today, I've got a link to this. If you text data to 33777, follow that firstly. You can read this for yourself. And at the bottom, I've got a link to the actual motion. And Ashley Merchant writes it in a way that's very easy for non-lawyers to understand. So Ashley Merchant is seeking dismissal of, and this is a quote, the criminal indictment in its entirety against Mr. Roman on the grounds that the entire prosecution is invalid and unconstitutional because the Fulton County District Attorney never had legal authority to appoint the special prosecutor who assisted in obtaining both grand jury indictments. As a result, both indictments contain structural errors and irreparable defects and should be dismissed in their entirety as to Mr. Roman. Now, what's notable here is that Nathan Wade's been going through a divorce in Cobb County. The divorce record is sealed. There was no hearing. That's a very relevant fact. Because in Georgia, to seal a divorce record, you have to have a hearing. None was had. It was sealed, so it has to come unsealed. I'm going to be stunned if the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or WSB News or someone can't get this divorce record unsealed in the next 48 hours. There was no hearing to seal the divorce record. It has to come unsealed. And also, Ashley Merchant says she read the file and copied relevant documents before it was sealed. Right, it's only been sealed recently. Before that, it wasn't. And Ashley Merchant says she read it, she got documents from it, and she got witnesses who can prove that Fani Willis and Nathan Wade were in a relationship, that they were having an affair. They've been seen together around town. They've taken cruises together. He was a married man, and he was cheating on his wife with the district attorney who, without any experience in RICO, put him in charge of the prosecution of Donald Trump and paid him almost $1 million, and then he spent lavishly on her. Now remember, don't say Fani Willis can't make ethical lapses because she's already barred from investigating the lieutenant governor in Georgia, Burt Jones, because she did a fundraiser for his opponent while she was investigating him, and a judge barred her from ever investigating him and related to this matter. If this is proven, it could be thrown out. This whole case could be thrown out because one of the things Ashley Merchant points out is that given the amount of money to be spent and the commitment to the county, she was supposed to get permission from the county before she picked a special prosecutor. And she never did. Fani Willis never got county permission to hire the special prosecutor, her boyfriend, who she's paid almost $1 million to. You want to say Donald Trump played by his own rules and outside the law and the process and did bad things? Looks like the prosecutor has as well. Looks like the prosecutor has. And given the ethical breach, if the prosecutor was in a sexual relationship with a married man who she put in charge of the case without getting county permission and without revealing the conflict of interest, this whole prosecution is too corrupt to proceed and has to be thrown out. You do this. Why do you do this if you're a judge? Because you have to penalize the prosecutors for that level of egregious unethical conduct so future prosecutors don't do the same thing. You throw out the case because you have to send a signal to prosecutors that that conduct is beyond the pale. Fani Willis's conduct could just have cost her the prosecution of Donald Trump and her future electoral career by hiring her boyfriend who had no experience in this sort of law and paying him a lot of money and possibly not even getting the county's permission to hire him in the first place. And notice this story is not being talked about in the national press. If the shoe was on the other foot, this would be the story, not the argument that was made in court today about Trump and immunity. But instead, because it so undermines the prosecution of Donald Trump in Georgia, bet you're only hearing it here.